They laughed when she took off. They forgot how to breathe when she landed. Lily Carter walked through the metal corridors of Station Artemis, her boots making soft thuds against the steel floor. The station was crowded with beings from dozens of worlds. Some had scales, some had fur, and some had color shifting across their skin. Humans like Lily looked plain next to them, with pale skin and soft hair. She liked it that way. She liked blending in and watching quietly. Her job was simple but important. She repaired small shuttles, engines, and landing crafts. Most humans on the station worked as helpers or technicians, but Lily loved flying. When she was young, she had learned to fly small ships on Earth and nearby colonies. It was dangerous, but it made her feel alive. Other species thought humans were fragile and weak, but Lily knew something they did not. Humans were survivors. They learned to survive storms, predators, and impossible worlds. They were stubborn in a quiet way. As she walked to the hangar, she noticed alien pilots laughing near a sleek silver shuttle. "Look at that human!" one said. "She thinks she can fly that old crate," another hissed. Lily ignored them. She had heard their laughter before. It did not bother her. She focused on her own shuttle, a small, older model named the Comet. It was worn and patched in many places, but she trusted it. She knew every bolt, wire, and pipe. The aliens would not understand that trust. The station suddenly shook. A loud alarm echoed through the halls. Lily felt her stomach drop. "Attention!" a voice boomed over the speakers. "Research Outpost Delta 4 has lost communication. Life support is failing. Rescue is urgent. All capable pilots report to the command deck." Lily's heart raced. This was it, the moment she had always dreamed of. She had volunteered for rescue missions before, but none had seemed real. Delta 4 was far out near the dead zone of the asteroid belt. Dangerous storms and radiation surrounded it. Only the best pilots had a chance to reach it. Most aliens would not even consider sending humans. They assumed they were too weak. On the command deck, Lily saw a group of chosen pilots. Huge reptilian beings, insect-like aliens and glowing energy forms, all had the latest ships, sleek and fast. They looked down at her. "You will not make it," one said in a low, rattling voice. "Return to the hangar, human." Lily nodded calmly. "I will do my best," she said, her voice steady. The alien laughed. It was cruel and sharp. "Your best is nothing. Your ship is a coffin." They did not know her. They did not understand humans. She looked at her comet, small and battered, but ready. She climbed in, checking every instrument and wire. She did not need fancy systems. She trusted her hands, her eyes, and her mind. The aliens continued to laugh, recording her for amusement. Humans, she thought, always seem weaker until they are needed most. As she prepared for takeoff, her friend Ryan, another human mechanic, appeared beside her. "Lily, are you sure?" he asked. His eyes were wide. "Those storms! They will tear your ship apart!" She smiled. "I know," she said. "But if I don't try, no one will." He admired her courage, but feared for her life. "Just come back," he said. She nodded again and sealed the hatch. The hangar doors opened, revealing the black expanse of space. Distant stars twinkled coldly. Lily felt a thrill of excitement. She powered the engines. The comet shuddered but held together. The alien pilots watched with disbelief as she lifted from the floor. Their laughter echoed and then faded as the small shuttle rose. She passed the asteroid belts with careful maneuvers. The older comet did not have shields like the alien ships. She had to rely on speed, timing, and instinct. She remembered stories from Earth about pilots who flew through storms and lived. Humans had done it before, and she could too. She pushed the engines harder, feeling the heat and vibration, but she did not panic. She thrived in it. Hours passed. She maneuvered around, spinning debris in electrical storms. Aliens tried to track her, but their instruments failed. The comet was too small, too fast, too unpredictable. She relied on her eyes and hands, weaving through danger that no one else dared. Sometimes the ship shook violently, alarms blaring, but she adjusted with skill. She had been trained by danger, and it had taught her well. Back on Station Artemis, the command deck watched her progress on the screens. At first, they laughed like the aliens in the hangar, but slowly, the laughter faded. The comet disappeared from some scanners, then reappeared, still moving steadily. Murmurs ran through the crowd. Could the human really reach the outpost? They had expected failure, yet she kept going. In the silence of space, Lily thought of nothing but the mission. The outpost had scientists trapped, and life support was failing. She would reach them, repair what she could, and bring them home. She had no illusions about glory or awards. She did this because humans did not give up. She felt a quiet pride in knowing she carried that with her, alone among aliens who underestimated her. As she approached the dead zone, the comet shook from turbulence and radiation waves. She felt every jolt, every vibration. Her hands moved over the controls with calm precision. Alien pilots had turned back long ago, claiming it was too dangerous. She pushed forward, following instincts that humans had developed over generations. Instinct, courage, and stubbornness were more powerful than any advanced system. For the first time, she allowed herself a thought. Maybe, just maybe, she could do what no one expected. Maybe she could prove the aliens wrong. She smiled faintly, even though no one could see her. This was the moment humans were made for. To survive, to endure, and to succeed when everything else seemed lost. The comet entered the outer field near Delta IV. Jagged asteroids and radiation storms surrounded the small outpost. Sensors were damaged. Communication lines were dead. The landing zones were blocked by debris. It was chaos, and yet Lily did not panic. She remembered a story her grandfather had told her about surviving a storm on Earth. "You do not fight the storm," he had said. "You move with it." She did the same, weaving through obstacles with calm focus. Back on Station Artemis, the command deck watched the approaching storm. Humans held their breath. Aliens looked uneasy. The small human shuttle was tiny among the chaos, but it moved with certainty. Some began to whisper. Could the humans survive this? Could she succeed? No, one laughed now. Lily felt the pull of the outpost's gravity field. It was weak and irregular. Most ships could not land here without crashing. She studied the readings, then ignored them. Instincts told her the right angle, the right speed, the right moment. The comet shivered as she aligned for descent. She held her breath, feeling the vibration of the engines, the pull of gravity, the pressure of the storm. She moved her hands carefully. Every second mattered. This was part one of Lily's journey. The humans who had always been underestimated were about to show that courage, instinct, and stubbornness could match any advanced alien technology. As she began her descent, silence fell over those watching. They had laughed when she took off. Now they were holding their breath, unsure of what would happen next. Lily Carter gripped the controls of the comet tightly. The small shuttle shuddered as it passed through the jagged edge of the dead zone. Asteroids spun dangerously close and radiation streaked across the black sky. Alarms blared, warning of engine strain and approaching debris. Most pilots would have panicked, but Lily stayed calm. She had flown through worse storms on Earth's outer colonies. Instinct guided her hands. She felt the ship, not just the instruments. Alien pilots had already turned back hours ago. They muttered excuses about weak human bodies and fragile ships. Now, the empty space behind her felt quiet. She was alone. At first, that loneliness seemed dangerous, but soon it became freeing. No one could judge her decisions. No one could stop her. It was just her, the comet, and the storm. The sensors flickered. The displays warned of gravity surges and debris fields. Lily ignored them. She had learned to trust her eyes. She spotted a spinning rock cluster ahead and adjusted her trajectory. The comet twisted through a narrow gap, the metal frame groaning, but holding. Her heart pounded, but her mind was clear. She focused on timing, speed, and distance. One mistake, and it could be over. Flashbacks came to her as she flew. She remembered her childhood on a small colony near Mars. Storms would rage across the plains, dust and wind whipping at fragile buildings. She and her friends would run through the storm, ducking under beams and repairing broken machines. Every challenge made her stronger, faster, and smarter. Humans were not made to be safe. They were made to survive. Ahead, the outpost Delta 4 appeared as a faint glow against the dead zone. The communications tower flickered weakly. No signals came through. The landing pads were crushed under debris, and smoke rose from broken walls. Lily felt a pang of fear. This was worse than she had expected. She had to land, rescue the crew, and repair the systems. It was almost impossible. Most ships would crash immediately. Most pilots would flee. But she was human. She could endure. The comet shuddered as she entered the debris field. Pieces of old satellites, broken rocks, and frozen metal flew past, scraping the ship. She leaned forward, adjusting every lever and switch with precision. The older ship had no advanced shields. She could feel every impact. Every scratch reminded her that failure was not an option. She used small bursts of thrusters to dodge debris, spinning and twisting the shuttle like a dancer. Back on Station Artemis, the command deck watched her progress with disbelief. Humans had always been underestimated. Now, even the alien commanders were silent. The comet was small, almost invisible, but moving steadily. Reports came in from the sensors. "She should be dead," one officer muttered. "How is she still alive?" Murmurs spread across the room. The laughter from before was gone. Tension filled the air. Lily approached the outpost's outer perimeter. A gravity surge pushed the comet sideways. Alarms blared. She adjusted the controls, letting the shuttle twist with the pull instead of against it. She learned long ago that fighting the natural force of storms or gravity wasted energy. Moving with it, she could control the landing. The shuttle twisted, tilted, and corrected. She smiled faintly. Humans learned to survive by adapting, not resisting. Inside Delta 4, the crew huddled together. Smoke and sparks filled the halls. Systems were failing. Oxygen was low. Alarms shrieked in deafening tones. The scientists had no hope. Then, through the viewport, they saw a small dot moving toward them. A human in a battered shuttle fighting the storm alone. They could not believe it. The dot grew larger as the comet approached, spinning and twisting through the debris. Lily called out quietly to herself. "Almost there! Just a little further!" Her voice was calm but firm. She relied on muscle memory, instinct, and experience. Every movement of the shuttle was calculated. She watched the approaching landing zone. The old pads were destroyed, and rubble blocked any clear spot. She had to create her own path. She scanned the area quickly, measuring angles, speed, and timing. Her brain worked faster than any computer could. The comet descended closer. Rocks scraped the hull, sending sparks into space. The shuttle twisted, bounced, and corrected, each movement small but precise. She felt the ship's frame groan under the strain. If she miscalculated, she would crash. But humans thrived under pressure. Danger sharpened their senses. Fear did not stop them. It made them focus. She felt alive in a way she never had before. Alien pilots watching from afar whispered to each other. "How is she still alive?" one asked. She should have been torn apart by now. They recorded her on their instruments, hoping for a miracle or at least proof of human weakness. They would get a miracle, not weakness. Lily's sensors flickered again. Some systems failed completely. She ignored them. Instinct guided her more than instruments now. She visualized the landing like she had practiced in simulations for years. She aligned the shuttle at a slight angle, ready to slide across the debris. Timing was everything. A second too late or early, and it would be over. Inside the comet, she adjusted the thrusters manually. Every movement mattered. The shuttle tilted, bounced, and corrected. Dust and small rocks hit the windows, but she ignored the chaos outside. She was focused only on the landing. She remembered stories of human pilots surviving impossible missions on distant colonies. Those stories were real. They were proof of human endurance. She was living that proof now. The outpost's crew watched her approach with disbelief. The small shuttle twisted through impossible angles, dodging debris and making adjustments no one else could imagine. The human pilot was defying everything they had been told. Hope flickered in their eyes. Maybe, just maybe, she could save them. Lily pushed the comet closer. The shuttle's landing gear touched rubble. It bounced, scraping metal against stone. She corrected instantly, keeping it from flipping. Sweat ran down her face, but her hands were steady. She whispered, "Steady!" Steady! The shuttle slid across debris, spinning slightly, then came to a stop. The engines roared as they adjusted position. She had landed, against all odds. "Back on Station Artemis!" Silence filled the command deck. No one spoke. The human had done what alien pilots said was impossible. The comet was intact, sitting on a broken landing pad, surrounded by debris and smoke. Murmurs ran through the crowd. "A human could survive where no alien ship could." The laughter was gone. Awe replaced it. Lily opened the hatch. Smoke and dust swirled around her. She stepped out carefully, surveying the area. The outpost was damaged, but survivors could be reached. She moved quickly, calling out to the crew. They rushed toward her, eyes wide with disbelief. She guided them calmly, leading them to safety. She repaired life support systems with simple tools, instinctively knowing what to fix first. The aliens who had doubted her would never understand how humans did it. Hours passed. Lily moved tirelessly, repairing, guiding, and comforting the trapped scientists. Some were injured, some terrified. She did not rest. Every small success mattered. Human endurance, she thought, was not about strength alone. It was about refusing to give up, even when everything seemed hopeless. The storm outside continued, but Lily ignored it. Her focus was the crew, the shuttle, and the mission. She felt alive, fully human in every sense. Danger sharpened her senses, and she moved with precision and care. Aliens might have superior technology, but humans had something else: resilience. They could survive, adapt, and succeed when all else failed. As the night fell over Delta IV, Lily worked steadily. She had reached a place no one else could. She had proven, in action if not in words, that humans were not weak. The small comet had survived storms, debris, and impossible angles. The human pilot had not only survived, but thrived. The aliens who had doubted would soon learn that humans were dangerous in ways they could not imagine. And for Lily, it was only the beginning. The hardest part was yet to come, ensuring that every survivor made it back home. But for now, she allowed herself a small, quiet pride. Humans had always been underestimated, and she had just shown why that was a mistake. Lily Carter stared at the broken landing field of Delta IV. The place was worse than she imagined. Metal debris lay scattered, smoke rose from damaged walls, and the remaining structures leaned as if ready to collapse. The storm outside continued to howl, sending flashes of light and streaks of dust across her viewport. Yet she felt calm. This was what she was trained for, even if no one else believed humans could survive it. The comet's engines hummed as she hovered above the damaged outpost. Landing would be difficult. Every inch of the area was uneven, with rubble and twisted metal waiting to flip her shuttle or crush it. She studied the field carefully. There was no clear path, no perfect spot. She had to create her own path. Instinct took over. She remembered all the hours she had spent learning to fly by feel, to trust her senses, and to react without hesitation. "Steady," she whispered to herself. She adjusted the thrusters, tilting the comet at an angle that would allow it to slide across the debris. The shuttle shuddered as pieces of rock scraped against its hull, sparks flying. Alarms screamed, but she ignored them. Humans had survived storms and disasters worse than this. She would survive too. Inside the outpost, the crew watched her descent. Panic and fear filled their eyes, but hope flickered as they saw the human moving steadily through chaos. "She's going to land?" one scientist gasped. "No one else could do it," another whispered. They huddled near the viewport, holding their breaths. Lily felt the ship tilt dangerously as a large piece of metal spun beneath her. She pushed the thrusters, rotating the comet just enough to avoid a direct collision. The shuttle scraped across rubble, bouncing slightly. She gritted her teeth and held the controls firmly. Every second counted. A wrong move, and the shuttle would flip, crushing her inside and ending the mission before it truly began. Finally, she found a relatively flat area, though it was still jagged and uneven. She aligned the shuttle carefully, lowering the landing gear slowly. The metal legs hit the debris first and bent slightly under pressure, but held. The comet slid across the rubble like a stone on ice, sparks flying, metal grinding. She adjusted constantly, keeping balance. She felt the sweat on her brow, but her hands were steady. She had done this 100 times in simulations. Now it was real. The shuttle came to a stop. Dust and smoke swirled around her. She sat still for a moment, catching her breath and checking the instruments. The comet had survived the landing. She had survived. A quiet smile touched her lips. She opened the hatch slowly, and the hot, dusty air of the outpost filled the cabin. Outside, the crew ran toward her. Their eyes were wide with disbelief. "You made it," one whispered. "I thought we were done for," another said. Lily waved them closer. "Stay calm," she said. "We are not done yet." She moved with quick efficiency, guiding them to safer areas of the outpost. Fires burned in some rooms and smoke filled the corridors, but she did not hesitate. Every action mattered. Her training kicked in. She assessed the damages quickly. Life support systems were failing. Oxygen levels were dropping. She knew she had little time to fix things before the storm outside worsened. She worked methodically, using simple tools and instincts. Humans were resourceful, she reminded herself. Technology was important, but adaptability was crucial. She repaired valves, rerouted power, and restored basic systems. Every small success gave the crew hope. One scientist, a man named Roger, limped toward her. His leg was injured. She helped him carefully, stabilizing the wound with what supplies she could find. "Thank you," he said, eyes wide. "We thought we were finished." She smiled faintly. "We are not finished," she said. "We keep moving." Humans did not give up, even when everything seemed hopeless. Outside, the storm raged, but Lily ignored it. She focused on the mission. Every movement, every decision, had to be precise. Debris shifted, walls groaned, and smoke choked the air, yet she moved steadily, calm and determined. The crew followed her example, guided by her quiet confidence. Aliens might have had superior technology, but humans had courage, endurance, and instincts that could not be measured by sensors or instruments. Hours passed as she worked tirelessly. She repaired communication systems, restored partial life support, and organized the crew. They moved under her guidance, carrying supplies, extinguishing small fires, and tending to injuries. Each task was simple but essential. She taught them, gently but firmly, to rely on common sense and observation, not just machines. The outpost slowly became livable again. At one point, a large beam threatened to fall from the ceiling. Lily moved instantly. She pulled 2 scientists out of the way just in time. The beam crashed to the floor with a loud crash. Dust filled the air, but everyone was safe. The crew stared at her in awe. Humans were not built for speed or strength alone. They were built for endurance, awareness, and quick thinking. Lily embodied that completely. As the storm outside began to ease slightly, she climbed back into the shuttle. She needed to scan the area and prepare for transport. The comet had survived the landing, but the shuttle was still vulnerable. She checked engines, fuel, and systems quickly. The readings were stable. She had survived the storm. She had landed in impossible conditions. The crew would survive. Back on Station Artemis, observers were silent. The small human shuttle had achieved the impossible. Aliens whispered among themselves. "She is remarkable," one said. "How is this possible?" another murmured. They had doubted her, laughed at her, and underestimated her. Now, there was no laughter. Astonishment and respect filled the room. Inside Delta 4, the crew began to understand the truth about humans. Lily worked with steady hands, repairing machinery with simple tools. She explained quickly what to do. "Connect these valves here," she said. "Adjust the pressure slowly, not too fast." She guided them patiently, showing that humans did not rely solely on advanced technology. Observation, instinct, and calm judgment were as important as any machine. One young scientist, Amy, asked quietly, "How can you do this alone?" Lily paused and smiled. "We learn to survive," she said. "We are not the strongest, but we do not give up." Humans have learned that failing means nothing if you keep trying. Amy nodded, eyes wide. She had never seen anyone like Lily before. Humans were underestimated, and now she understood why. As the night fell over the outpost, Lily continued working. Small fires were extinguished, oxygen levels stabilized, and the crew felt safe for the first time. The comet rested on the rubble, a battered but capable shuttle. The human who had flown it had survived storms, debris, and impossible angles. She had landed where no one else could. She had begun the rescue, and she had done it calmly, efficiently, and without hesitation. The aliens who had watched from afar could only record her movements. They did not understand it. They could not measure the instinct, courage, or endurance she displayed. Humans had survived worse. They had adapted to dangerous worlds and impossible conditions. Lily had shown that humans were not fragile but resilient, capable of thriving where others failed. In the quiet moments when the crew paused to rest, Lily looked out at the storm and the broken landscape. She felt tired but satisfied. Every movement, every decision had mattered. She had saved lives. She had proven, silently and clearly, that humans could endure what others could not. The comet sat on the ground like a small monument to human endurance, and she felt proud, not for glory, but for survival. And in that moment, the first seeds of understanding began to grow. Humans were not weak helpers to be laughed at. They were survivors, warriors in their own right, and Lily Carter was proof. The crew would remember her courage, and the aliens would never forget the human who landed where no one else dared. The mission was far from over, but the hardest step was done. She had arrived, she had landed, and she had begun the rescue. The next challenge would be getting everyone back safely. But for now, the impossible had been achieved. The human had arrived, and the outpost Delta 4 had hope again. Lily Carter moved steadily through the broken halls of Delta 4. The outpost was damaged, but she had restored enough life support to make it safe for the crew. Fires had been extinguished, walls reinforced, and oxygen flowing. She checked the sensors again. Small failures still existed, but she could manage them. Every small repair mattered. Humans had learned long ago that survival depended on patience, observation, and careful action. Alan Brooks, an alien officer from Station Artemis, arrived at the outpost a few hours later with a small survey team. He had been watching Lily's progress from the command deck, curious and cautious. Most aliens had doubted humans completely. Now, he wanted to see the truth with his own eyes. He walked through the corridors, eyes wide, as he watched Lily moving among the injured scientists. "Human," he said, finally, speaking carefully. "How do you do this? You have no advanced tools, and yet you have repaired most systems." Lily glanced at him, calm as ever. "We learn to survive," she said simply. "Humans do not rely on fancy machines alone. We watch, we learn, and we act. We adapt." Alan looked at her, trying to understand. Humans had always been considered weak. Now he was seeing something he had never imagined. The outpost crew moved efficiently under her guidance. They carried oxygen tanks, helped injured colleagues, and repaired damaged systems. Lily gave instructions in short, clear sentences. Connect these lines carefully. Do not rush. Observe the pressure. Adjust slowly. The crew followed her words exactly. Even without advanced manuals or complex devices, they succeeded. Humans had learned to improvise and solve problems in ways no alien computer could predict. Alan followed her silently, taking notes. He had always studied humans from afar, reading reports and observing videos. Now, he saw the reality. Humans were not weak. They were resilient, clever, and resourceful. They survived storms, disasters, and impossible situations. Lily was not just skilled. She was a living example of human adaptability and endurance. Hours passed as Lily continued her work. She repaired generators, rerouted power, and stabilized critical systems. Her hands moved quickly but carefully. She used simple tools and instinct to find weak points, reinforcing damaged structures and adjusting broken machinery. The aliens watching could not believe how much she could accomplish with so little equipment. Alan finally spoke again. You seem tireless. How do you keep going? Lily paused for a moment, wiping sweat from her forehead. Humans endure, she said. We are not the strongest or the fastest, but we do not stop. We survive because we must. We adapt because life demands it. Giving up is not an option. Alan nodded slowly. He had expected humans to be fragile, but he was seeing determination beyond anything he had imagined. The outpost crew gathered around as Lily repaired a damaged communications console. She guided them carefully, showing how to reconnect circuits and calibrate the system. Watch carefully, she said. Learn what I do. The knowledge matters as much as the tools. They followed her example, hands steady, eyes focused. Humans learned through experience, observation, and persistence. No alien computer could replace that. Outside, the storm had lessened, but danger remained. Debris shifted, and unstable structures threatened to collapse. Lily moved quickly to reinforce weak walls and support beams. She tied beams together, adjusted braces, and used simple mechanical methods to secure areas. Aliens would have relied on complex machines, but humans relied on ingenuity and hands-on work. Her methods worked. The outpost became safer by the minute. Alan observed her closely. He had studied humans academically, but seeing one in action was different. Humans were not built for brute strength alone. They were clever, adaptable, and relentless. Every movement Lily made was precise, deliberate, and effective. She taught the crew not just by words, but by example. Humans could endure more than anyone expected. Lily paused for a moment, looking at the crew. They were tired, injured, and scared, yet they were following her guidance. She smiled faintly. We are not finished, she said. We must prepare to return. The outpost is stable, but we must get everyone home safely. Alan watched quietly. Humans did not boast about their success. They acted. They survived. And their quiet confidence inspired others. As preparations continued, Alan asked cautiously, Human, why do you risk so much? Lily glanced at him, eyes calm. Because someone must, she said simply. We survive, and we help others survive. It is what humans do. We are stubborn, patient, and enduring. We do not give up. Not for ourselves, not for anyone else, Alan nodded, understanding more than he had before. He had underestimated humans, and now he realized his mistake. The crew worked under her supervision, gathering supplies, preparing the shuttle, and stabilizing systems for the journey home. Lily guided them calmly, explaining each step. Check oxygen levels, then secure cargo. Make sure everyone has water and food. Move carefully, do not rush. She did not order them harshly. She guided them with quiet authority. Humans led through example, not dominance. Hours passed. The shuttle was prepared. The crew had recovered from minor injuries, and life support systems were functional. Lily double-checked everything. The comet had survived storms, debris, and impossible landings. Now, it would carry the crew safely back. She moved through the corridors one last time, checking for anything overlooked. Every detail mattered. Humans learned that success depended on careful observation and persistence. Alan spoke again. Human, your people are remarkable. We thought you weak, fragile, and incapable. Now I see something different. Lily smiled faintly. We survive, she said. We endure. We adapt. Humans are not strong in the way you think, but we are strong in ways you cannot measure. We face impossible situations and do not stop. That is what makes us dangerous. Alan nodded slowly, taking careful notes. He had witnessed a truth that few aliens understood. Humans could survive where others failed. The crew gathered around the comet. Lily directed them as they boarded. She checked every strap, every connection, every system. She ensured everyone was ready for takeoff. The shuttle engines hummed steadily. Outside, the storm had diminished, but space remained dangerous. Yet humans were ready. They had endured, adapted, and learned. They could survive challenges that no one else could. Lily climbed into the pilot's seat, checking controls one last time. The comet had survived storms, debris, and impossible landings. The crew was safe, calm, and ready. She looked at Alan, who nodded quietly. Humans are stronger than I imagined, he said. She smiled faintly. We survive because we must, she said. We adapt because life demands it, and we endure because we do not stop, no matter what. As the engines roared to life, the crew felt a quiet confidence. They had seen humans survive impossible situations. They had witnessed courage, endurance, and instinct in action. Lily guided the comet out of the outpost carefully, avoiding debris and weak structures. Every movement was precise, deliberate, and effective. Humans thrived under pressure. Humans endured. The outpost Delta 4 had been saved. The crew had survived. Aliens who had doubted humans would never forget what they had witnessed. Humans were not fragile, weak, or foolish. They were survivors, warriors in their own right. Lily Carter had shown that clearly. The small human shuttle carried not just the crew, but the proof that humans could endure where others failed. Lily adjusted the comet's trajectory. The journey back would be long and dangerous, but she was ready. Humans did not fear danger. They faced it. Every challenge made them stronger. The crew trusted her, and aliens observing her had begun to understand the quiet power of human resilience. Humans could survive storms, repair broken systems, and endure impossible situations. They did it with determination, ingenuity, and endurance. As the comet drifted away from Delta 4, Alan Brooks whispered to himself, "Humans. They are nothing to underestimate." Lily did not hear him, but she did not need to. She had proved it in action, not words. Humans survived, humans endured, and humans could thrive where others failed. The journey home had begun, and the universe would remember that humans were dangerous not because they sought power, but because they refused to give up. Lily Carter gripped the comet's controls as it drifted away from Delta 4. The shuttle hummed steadily, carrying the rescued crew safely through space. Outside, the stars shone coldly, distant and silent. Inside, the crew was quiet, exhausted, and still in disbelief. They had survived impossible conditions, and a human pilot had made it possible. Alan Brooks, the alien officer who had observed her work, sat quietly beside the crew. He had taken countless notes, documenting everything he had seen. Humans had always seemed fragile to him, weak compared to other species. Now he understood. Humans endured. They adapted. They survived where others would fail. Lily was proof. "Are we safe?" the scientist asked quietly. Her voice trembled. Lily glanced at her, calm as ever. Yes, she said. We are safe, but we must remain alert until we reach the station. Space is dangerous. She checked the instruments carefully, noting debris fields and radiation pockets ahead. The comet was small, but it was nimble. She could avoid most threats by using instinct and careful maneuvers. Humans had learned to survive in impossible conditions. Instinct guided her more than sensors now. The journey back was long. The crew rested, but Lily remained vigilant. She monitored every sensor, every readout, and every sound from the shuttle. The comet had survived storms, debris, and impossible landings. Now it had to survive the return journey. Every second mattered. Humans had learned that caution and awareness were as important as courage. Alan watched her closely. He had studied humans academically for years, but this was different. Observing Lily in action showed him a truth no book could capture. Humans were not built for brute strength. They were built for endurance, observation, and adaptability. Every movement, every decision was deliberate and effective. Humans survived because they refused to give up. Hours passed as the comet moved steadily toward Station Artemis. The crew had regained some confidence. They had seen danger and survived, guided by a human pilot. Alan spoke quietly to one of his colleagues. This human, she is remarkable, not because she is strong or fast, but because she endures. She adapts. She survives. The alien nodded slowly. Humans had a resilience that no other species could match. Lily glanced at the viewport. The station was growing larger, its lights shining steadily. She adjusted the shuttle's approach, calculating speed, angle, and timing. She did not rely solely on instruments. Instinct guided her. Humans had learned to survive disasters by using their senses, not just technology. The comet twisted and turned carefully, avoiding obstacles in the docking field. On Station Artemis, the hangar was filled with pilots, officers, and spectators. Many had doubted her, laughed at the idea that a human could survive Delta IV. Now, silence filled the room. The small shuttle approached, spinning slightly to align with the docking bay. Observers held their breath. They had watched humans fail before, but this was different. Humans had succeeded against impossible odds. Lily guided the comet carefully, touching down on the docking pad. The shuttle bounced slightly, scraping the metal, but she corrected immediately. Engines hummed steadily as the craft came to a stop. Dust and sparks filled the air. The crew inside exhaled in relief. Outside, the onlookers remained silent. They had expected failure, yet the human had landed safely. She opened the hatch slowly. A quiet hush filled the hangar. The rescued crew stepped out, exhausted but alive. They looked around at the station personnel, many of whom were staring in disbelief. A human had survived what no alien pilot could! A human had returned with lives intact. The silence was powerful. It spoke louder than words. Alan Brooks stepped forward. This human, he said slowly, is not weak. She is remarkable. She endures, adapts, and survives. Humans are not fragile. They are capable of more than we ever imagined. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Aliens who had doubted, laughed, or sneered now looked at humans with respect. Humans were survivors, warriors in their own right. Lily smiled faintly, stepping out of the shuttle. She was tired, bruised, and sweaty, but she stood tall. She had proven something far greater than skill or technology. She had proven the resilience of her species. She had survived storms, debris, impossible landings, and dangerous situations. She had guided a crew to safety. Humans could endure when others could not. The rescued crew moved around her, helping each other, carrying supplies, and tending minor injuries. They had learned from her example. Humans did not only survive, they taught others how to survive as well. The aliens watching began to realize that strength was not measured by speed, size, or technology alone. Endurance, calm judgment, and adaptability mattered equally. Station officials approached slowly. One commander bowed slightly, speaking quietly. "Human, we misjudged your species. You have proven that humans are not weak. You're capable of survival in ways we did not expect." Lily nodded politely. She did not boast. Humans did not need to. Their actions spoke louder than words. Alan Brooks recorded her words carefully. "Humans," he whispered to himself, "they are not what we thought. They survive when others fail. They endure when others give up. They adapt when conditions are impossible. We will not underestimate them again." The crowd in the hangar began to cheer quietly. Not because of technology, not because of flashy maneuvers, but because a human had shown courage, endurance, and intelligence. The quiet, determined strength of one human had changed the perception of an entire species. The laughter that once greeted her departure had turned into awe. They had forgotten how to breathe when she landed. Lily guided the comet to a full stop. She checked systems one last time, ensuring that everything was stable. The shuttle had survived storms, impossible landings, and the journey back. The crew had survived under her guidance. Humans had endured against all odds. She stepped out slowly, letting the crew move ahead, smiling faintly at their relief and awe. The station officers began to speak to her, asking about her methods, her instincts, and her decisions. Lily explained calmly, simply. "We survive," she said. "We endure. We adapt. We do not give up. Humans are not the strongest, but we survive. We act, and we learn from every challenge." The aliens listened carefully, understanding something they had never realized. Humans could survive situations no other species could. The rescued crew gathered around her, expressing thanks quietly. They had seen fear, danger, and destruction, but a human had guided them through it all. They had survived because she refused to give up, because she had endured when others would have failed. Humans had proven that courage, endurance, and careful judgment could overcome the impossible. As night fell over Station Artemis, Lily looked out over the hangar. The stars twinkled coldly, distant and silent. She felt tired but satisfied. The mission was complete. Delta 4 had been saved! The crew had survived! Humans had proven their resilience and courage. Aliens would no longer underestimate her species. Humans were not weak. They were survivors, warriors in their own right. Alan Brooks approached her again. "Human," he said quietly, "you have changed everything we thought we knew. Humans will be respected now. We will remember this. We will not underestimate your kind again." Lily smiled faintly. "We survive," she said simply. "We endure. We adapt. That is enough." The hangar echoed with quiet amazement. Humans had arrived where no one expected. They had survived where others would have failed. The journey had been long, dangerous, and exhausting, but they had succeeded. The laughter that once greeted Lily's departure had vanished. Humans had proven their worth, not through arrogance, but through endurance, courage, and determination. And so, the story ended with a lesson for the universe. Humans could endure, survive, and thrive against impossible odds. They were not weak. They were resilient. They were dangerous, not because they sought power, but because they refused to give up. Lily Carter stepped away from the comet, exhausted but alive. She had flown through storms, landed where no one else could, repaired systems under pressure, and guided a crew to safety. She had shown the true strength of humans. Aliens who had doubted her, laughed at her, or underestimated her would never forget this day. Humans had arrived, and the universe had learned to respect them. The crew gathered, smiling quietly, exhausted but safe. They had survived the impossible. The comet rested safely in the hangar, battered but whole. Lily looked around at the faces of those who had doubted her, and at the eyes of the humans who had watched her succeed. Pride touched her heart. Humans endured. Humans survived. Humans had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same. The universe had learned a new truth. Do not underestimate humans. They survive. They endure. And they do not give up.